Okay, welcome back to the fifth video of this series about my book Philosophical Cocaine: A Radical Approach to Self-Liberation. My name is Alvaro Quevedo, philosopher, magician, world traveler with 20 years of experience traveling the world and living a nomadic lifestyle. This fifth video obviously is about the fifth chapter, which is called The Time Has Come to Evolve. The book is six chapters, so this is almost at the end of the book. It's going to be a very intense video because I'm going to be covering a lot. It's more like a dense part of the book. In the previous chapter, I already covered about social conditioning, negative social conditioning, how your mind is trapped between two characters, the anybody self, the unique self, how social conditioning basically is pulling you from the outside to fall into conformity. I explained the 5 ways your mind falls into conformity in the previous video. You can check that out. I'm going to leave the link over here. This chapter is called The Time Has Come to Evolve, but why I call it like that? Because once you understand the invisible prison of negative social conditioning, you might want to overcome it. You might want to be free from that, free from social conformity, and free from all the constraints that are trapping you from inside your mind to be you anybody self. You want to be unique. You want to be irrepeatable. You want to be different from the rest. You don't want to blend into the mass of anybody's selves and follow the market trends and be like a zombie, like following all this bullshit, So how are you going to accomplish that? Is by what I call here is the 10 habits of the unique self, the 10 mental habits of the unique self. So when you're in your unique self, you think in a way that is different from your anybody self. I already explained you what is to be the anybody self, how the anybody self falls into conformity by different means and follow the language of lack and false fulfillment. But I haven't explained you how to be your unique self, how to be repeatable, how to tap into that part of you that is your Tyler Durden, if we link it back to Fight Club. So if you want to access that part of you, which is the Tyler Durden in you, you will have to give up actually a lot of things that you've been doing and you've been thinking about yourself and about the world, about society in general. That's why I say in the book, there's another subtitle in the book called if you want to make an omelette, you have to break some eggs, which is a phrase from Fight Club, from Tyler says this at some point. You have to sacrifice something in order to achieve the objective, which is to tap into that personality, which is strong, confident, and also unique, irrepeatable, apart from the crowd and being a different human being, Obviously, social conditions don't want to be like that. So in this video, I'm going to give you the 10 mental habits of the unique self. Let's go. First one is called recognize your choice between now or never. Okay? This is the first mental habit of your unique self. What it means? If we put it in contrast with the anybody self, the anybody self is a zombie that's following social conditioning and fall into negative social conditioning, following the trends, following other people, looking for external validation, etc. So he doesn't have a clear consciousness of time, okay, of the time is finite, that you're going to die at the end. So your timing here is limited. So obviously, the anybody self thinks, okay, I can do this tomorrow. This is not a radical choice. Whatever is happening right now, it can be repeated in time, whatever, which is all bullshit, all right? Because time is finite, it makes every moment irrepeatable as your own essence. So you're irrepeatable because time is irrepeatable, and you cannot change different time, different moments in the big scheme of time, of temporal existence. So when I say you have to recognize the choice between now and never, it means that if you don't do something now that you have to do or you want to do, you cannot choose to do it another time, okay? You're choosing between now and never. If you don't do it now, it is never, okay? If it is never, it's not now, okay? So for instance, if you have to do something today, even if you go to do the thing that you have to do today, tomorrow, it's not going to be the same day. Everything's going to be changed. The sun is going to be different. The flowers around you is going to be bigger. That you're going to be older. So at the end of the day, even the smallest decisions, you have to know that when you're choosing to do it now, you are rejecting the never. And when you're doing not now, you are just choosing another now, which is today's never. So you have to be very conscious that unique self is always choosing between now and never, and that gives you a lot of energy and a lot of like decision that this is the choice that you have to stick on. You have to buy into this choice, and obviously by doing that you are tapping into your unique self, and you're not being like anybody's self that just wait for another perfect moment, another now, which is never another now, it's just today's never. Second, take responsibility for your absence. We are trained to believe that the anybody self is just take responsibility for your present, for where you are, what you do, and who you are in that particular moment. You are present to the moment. But actually, when you are, because you have to choose between now and never all the time. That means that when you choose a now and you reject a never, you're basically not being in certain moments or certain places that you could have been or you could have done, you know. So when you're choosing a now, you're rejecting all these situations. For instance, if you're going to the bar, you're rejecting staying home. And if something happened at home, you're not going to be there. You have to be responsible for what you are not, where you are not. Okay. So being clear about the now and never mentality is also being clear that your responsibility doesn't end with your presence. Also, it expands to your absence. So when you are present to the moment, you're also absent to other moments, and you have to be responsible for that. That's what I call basically take responsibility for your absence. 3, aligns your desires with your own power. This is huge. What it means that the person you are, the identity you have, is unique, right? Because you are not anybody's self. The unique self knows that he is unique and he is irrepeatable. So because you are unique, you have a unique set of possibilities. You can do certain things and you cannot do certain things. For example, I give an example in the book, like if you have $1 million in your account, your possibility is to buy a $1 million house. If you don't have the $1 million, it's not the possibility to buy a $1 million house. That's a possibility for someone who has $1 million. If you are 6'3", you can jump a certain height. If you are a short little guy, you cannot jump a certain height. So that possibility is not yours. So what I mean by align your desire with your own power, it means that you have to be very clear what are your possibilities and what are your impossibilities. The anybody self think everything is possible or nothing is impossible because he's following the trends for different brands and tell you everything is possible, you have to just believe in it, blah, blah, blah. And that is not authentic because you have one set of specific possibilities and another set of specific impossibilities. It means that it doesn't mean that they are fixed forever, but you have to be aware of what are your own possibilities so you can take action based on those possibilities and not daydreaming about things that you could do but actually you can't do. And at the end of the day, it makes you a little bit like an idiot because you are thinking you're someone else. You are the anybody self. You're anybody, but you are not anybody. You are a unique self. You are a particular person who has a specific situation and specific possibilities and specific impossibilities. So that's what I mean by aligning your desire with your own power. So knowing yourself and knowing who you are by saying, these are my possibilities, are my impossibilities. I'm going to act on my possibilities. Never compare the incomparable. The anybody self is like anybody, but the unique self is unique. So you cannot compare with the unique part of you. You cannot say, oh, I am like this compared to this other person or to this other situation because it's incomparable. The only thing that is comparable is the anybody self because it's like anybody, you know. But when you tap into your unique self, you cannot compare anymore because it's incomparable with other people that has, let's say, the same situation. It will not be the same situation because it will be their unique situation. So when I say never compare the incomparable, it means that when you are unique and truly unique and you tap into your uniqueness and your irrepeatable uniqueness, you cannot compare yourself with others because that will be another unique self, another situation that is completely uncomparable with your unique self. So obviously the anybody self, social conditioning, wants you to compare all the time with other people so you can feel insecure, insufficient, and all the other things that I explained in the previous videos. But when you are free from that, you don't compare yourself anymore, and that thing is the same thing than saying that Because you don't compare yourself anymore is because you are unique and you're tapping into your uniqueness. So don't compare yourself. Be free in your own uniqueness, in your irrepeatable essence, and don't compare yourself in the sense of saying, if I compare myself because I'm being anybody, I'm comparable. You just want to be unique in a way that you don't compare yourself anymore, and you just act on your possibilities, your unique possibilities. So that's the fourth. Okay, the fifth one. Don't confuse presence with image. This is huge, especially nowadays that we are surrounded and bombarded by images all around, by the screens we have in the laptop, the phone, the screens on the street, etc. Just projecting images on our visual reality. So what is happening there is that we ended up confusing the real thing with the image of that real thing. So if you ask someone, you say, would you confuse a real apple with the image of that apple? The apple you can eat actually with the image of the apple. Everybody will say, no, of course not. But in reality, we do confuse images with the presence. So because we are so surrounded by images all the time, we forgot that we are watching an image. And instead of like saying, oh, this is an image, it's not the real presence, we actually fall emotionally into the image and into the projection of that image as if it were the real reality. So what's happening is that, for instance, I give you an example. When you're in a dating app or whatever, you're looking at the pictures of the person. Oh, she's pretty, she's not pretty, he's like this, he's like that. But actually it's an image. You kind of forget that what you're actually is like a 2D screen projecting an image on your eyes, and it's not the real person. You're already making judgment, you're making assumptions, making projecting scenarios or whatever in your mind, fantasizing about this image. You completely forgot that is an image and it's not the presence. So the unique self in you is clear about this is an image, right? This is a phantom. This is actually a simulation. It's not real, the real thing. The real thing is more connected with touch. Touch doesn't lie about images or presence. Touch always touch the presence. So that's why it's the unique self is more connected with touch than with images, with eyes, all right? The eyes gives you images, but the touch gives you the presence of the things. So be more connected with the touch than with the eyes, and you will be more in presence than in images. So the unique self never confuses presence with image, and that always makes it more unique, more real, more concrete, and also more authentic. Sixth one, stop believing that you can actually know the other person, all right? This is huge because usually we think, okay, if the person is honest, we can actually see through his soul and get into his mind. He's completely honest, he's transparent. We know the person. I give an example in the book about Bernie Madoff, this con man from the United States that he conned all the Wall Street with millions and billions of dollars or whatever. And his wife didn't know he was a con man, right? For 50 years. So she lived with him. She slept with him every night. And he doesn't know this guy is pulling the biggest Ponzi scheme in history. This example is extreme, but what I want to point with that example is that you always have to give the benefit of the doubt, and always give space for mystery and the unknown when talking to other person. The other person could seem very, very honest and transparent or whatever, but is another soul that is looking the world from another angle. So you cannot reach that angle. You're always trapped in your own perspective. So the other perspective is impossible to see. It's impossible to reach. We only reach it indirectly, and that gives space for mystery and for the unknown. So stop pretending, stop believing that you can truly know the other person. That's the sixth mental habit. You don't know the other person. You can create an image, you can create an idea, but you never truly know it, because truly knowing the other person, it will be being that other person. So you have to kind of like have this like extracorporeal spiritual experience to be inside the other person's mind and feel what he feels and think what he thinks, which is not going to happen. So stop believing you can truly know the other person. Give space for mystery, give space for the unknown, and you will be more and more unique, authentic, and based in reality. Seventh, accept that sex is more fundamental than love. This is huge and this is very radical, but I want to focus on the word fundamental. I didn't say important, I say fundamental. And with this, I mean that we all came from a sexual act. We are here in the world because somebody else has had a sexual relation, and that we are the product by that. So sex is in the origin. And because of the origin, we cannot say it's not important or it's not fundamental. It is important as love, but it's more fundamental. This is the habit, because we can imagine a world where everybody's having sex and having children or whatever, and not loving each other, just having sex. But we cannot imagine a world that continues and keep going if it's just there, love each other, don't having sex. You know what I mean? So at the end of the day, the sexual activity, the sexual desire between human beings is more fundamental, because it keeps the world going. Love is also very, very important, crucial, but it's not as fundamental as having sex, because sex is our link to the human nature in its raw essence, to the natural state of affairs of the world. So that is why I say the unique self always understand that this is more fundamental, and never is in touch with his inner desires in a way that the anybody self is faking, or just being like a asexual, or maybe thinks he is over sexuality, or whatever weird thing he's thinking because of the trends, or because of the social conditioning. But the unique self is always in touch with the sexual nature of being human, of being animal in one sense, and to be spiritual in one other sense. But we have bodies, we are sexual, and we have that drive that is actually a huge energy that drives us to do things that sometimes even love don't have the power to do. So accept that sex is more fundamental than love. No more important, but fundamental. 8, discover that your life purpose is not happiness. What I mean by this is that if happiness is your purpose, it means that you're not happy. So if you want to be happy, don't make happiness your purpose. Plus, the purpose of life is to be authentic and to be unique. So you have to understand that the purpose, if there's a purpose, is to escape the mental prison of the anybody self. That will be a purpose that we have to pursue, and we have to perfect ourselves to just escape negative social conditioning and finally be unique. Okay, so at the end of the day, the purpose of your life is not going to be happiness, and actually thinking like that is a bad way to be happy, because you're putting happiness on a distance. Instead of, like, if you're saying the purpose of my life is to be unique, authentic, to be myself, to tap into my core essence, it will be a much more graded purpose than to chase happiness, to that next hit of happiness that a lot of people is chasing. So discover that your life's purpose is not happiness, but authenticity, and to become unique. 9, never try to prove your worth. Because of social conditioning, and negative social conditioning specifically, make us feel insufficient, insatisfaction, and insecurity, we tend to come from a place from a scarcity and from fear, and we have to prove our worth. That's what negative social conditioning wants. That's why you are worthless, and then basically you're gonna gain your worth by work, by buying some certain products, by proving yourself to the world that you have worth and you have value. And that's a bad place to come, because that's coming from the anybody self. The anybody self needs to prove his worth, because it's just about external approval. He's always looking for external approval, and he's nothing without approval. He doesn't get that approval from other people, from the world, from society. He's nothing. So obviously it makes sense for him to prove his worth to the world. But the unique self, because it's unique, it will never be here again. It will never repeat this. The universe, it will never repeat this being. Obviously is very valuable because he's unique. So he doesn't have to prove his value, his worthness. He's just is. By his essence, his mere, like, simple presence is just unique and valuable. So his mindset is different. He doesn't come around and sell his image or sell his being to other people and say, look what I do, look what I have, look what blah, 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 to just validate me and make me feel that I'm worthy to be here to who I am. The unique self is like, this is me. What you see is what you get. That's it. All right? So he never proved his value, never tried to prove his value. He just assumed the value, right? It's a difference between proving your value or assuming your value. The unique self always assumes his value. And that's the difference between tapping into your unique self or living from your anybody self. Whenever you are trying to prove your value, selling your image, trying to convince people that you are worthy to be whatever, kind of like interview mode, you are in the anybody self. When you're not trying to be likable or valuable to other people, then you already have tapped into the unique self. And finally, never believe that you can own anything. This is huge because a lot of people fall into this trap of the anybody self. The only thing you have is your body and your mind. That's it. That's the only thing that belongs to you. It's attached to you until the day you die. The rest of the things are like this microphone, this t-shirt, or whatever, is just contingent. It means that it's going to be there for a moment while I'm using it. And then when I put it there on the shelf or put it on the table, this microphone, this clothes, it's not me anymore because I'm not using it. So society tries to convince us that when we're not using the things, they're still ours. So there's a whole system to protect our private property and all the kind of things, blah, blah. But actually, it's not yours. I mean, why is it going to be yours? In what sense? Well, in a mental sense, right? Yeah. There's a mental link. There's a legal link. Society, the human world protects that mental link you have with things. But in reality, that's why someone can steal the things from you, because whenever they are right there, they are not yours anymore, right? So human beings have a lot of conflict with this kind of things. Like they want to have a lot of stuff, and they want to have things in different kind of countries, different locations, and it's just a mental link they have to protect in a way that is unhealthy at the end of the day. It's much more easier to come back to the essence and to come back to the radical way of seeing things as the way the unique self will see it. That is, things are only used when you're using them, and that's it. I give an example in the book. It's very radical, but it's very simple and straightforward. It's about if you see someone driving a car in front of you, like you see a car, someone driving the car, and then stop in traffic light and keep going on the street. How can you know by just looking at that situation that the guy stole the car, is his own car, or maybe he borrowed the car? How can you know by just looking at that? What you see is just a guy driving the car, right? And that's all it matters. He's driving the car. He's moving with the car. He's using the car. Doesn't really matter if his own car, he borrowed the car, he stole the car. Well, it means, I'm not saying that it's the same kind of person, same quality of person, someone that steals the car or owns the car. But I'm saying that in the real fundamental structural reality, he's just using the car and moving around with the car, right? That's it. The same as you. You are jumping on a plane to go to another country. Is that your plane? No, it's not yours. But you're using the plane and you're moving in the plane. That's it. So at the end of the day, using things is what really makes things yours. If you're using the things are not yours. Simple as that. Maybe you think they're yours, but they're not yours. The only thing that appropriates the world is using the things. Think about a surfer. The surfer is riding the wave. While he's riding the wave is yours. When he's off the wave is just disappears. You know what I mean? So there's no link, there's no relation between the surfer and the wave when the wave is gone and he's not riding the wave. The same thing with objects. While you're using the t-shirt, it's yours. What you put in there is not yours. Simple as that. If you try to maintain and believe that the thing is yours when you're not using it because you have a mental property, you buy there's a monetary link between, you're just deceiving yourself and you're making a lot of extra worrying in your mind by believing that way. Just let go and think that the things are yours only when you're using them, and that's it. All right, so this is the 10 mental habits of the unique self. Very, very briefly. If you want to have more details about this, I'm gonna leave a link in the description so you can buy the book and read the whole chapter and understand it more in depth, what is going on, why it's so profound, and how you can make that shift from the anybody self to the unique self and be more authentic, more unique, more repeatable, and enjoy life with a more powerful mindset than just following the trends and looking for exam validation. So the link is below, and also I'm going to leave you the link to get the first chapter of the book for free. Just put your email there and you get it straight to your email, to your inbox, and that's it. So I'll see you in the next video, which is the last chapter, where I'm going to summarize exactly how can you have a measurement of if you are free or not, if you are living from the unique self or from the anybody self. So next chapter is very important, is the last one. So see you in the next one.